Following the cancellation of WWE 2K21, wrestling gamers have had to wait patiently for their next opportunity to step into the virtual ring, but that's something that is about to change as 2021 sees a total of 11 new wrestling games in development, so sit back, relax and join us as we run through every wrestling game currently in development. Number 1. AEW. One of the most eagerly awaited games on this list is the upcoming AEW Console Game in development from former WWE games developer Yuke's. So far, the only footage that we've seen of this game is the teaser trailer that was released at the beginning of the year, which showed off Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho before leading to the introduction of Hikaru Shida. Unlike recent games that we've seen from Yuke's, the AEW Console Game is a lot more arcade based than the realistic simulation style we've come to expect, as Kenny Omega, who's taken a hands-on approach in the development of this game, has continuously expressed his desire for the AEW game to follow in the footsteps of WWF No Mercy and Here Comes the Pain, and offer up a fun, challenging gameplay experience that players of all ages can pick up and enjoy. Due to current world events, it's unknown just how far into development the game is, as the trailer that we've seen was a cinematic trailer rather than actual gameplay. However, in recent interviews, Omega has stated that the game is progressing well and that they're seeing features added that they never thought were possible. As for any estimated release date, Omega did tease that we could see the game come out at the end of the year, however it looks a lot more likely that the game will instead drop in 2022. Number 2. Untitled Wrestling Game. Steve Masson's Untitled Wrestling Game is an upcoming physics-based pro wrestling game designed for fast-paced, hard-hitting action. The game features a one-of-the-kind dynamic grappling system where every slam becomes unique, every punch hits hard, and every character truly embodies themselves in a game that aims to break the general wrestling game mold and offer up a new and unique experience. The heart of the game is the game's physics system, with a game featuring physics-based gameplay that sees players react to the situation and the environment around them, with their reactions and the animations changing dynamically. For example, should you suplex your opponent next to the ropes and find that they land on top of them, then the reaction that you see will take into account real-world physics. If their legs hit the ropes, then you'll see them bounce off the ropes and back into the ring. However, should you find yourself too close to the ropes when you suplex them, then you'll see them sent crashing to the outside. This system makes for a really unique experience that sees every move feel unique, as performing the same move in one area of the ring can take on a completely different outcome to performing it in another. Complementing the physics system, the game features dynamic grapples and dynamic strikes, which change depending on a wrestler's attributes, their stamina, the moveset, or even the crowd's reaction. If you find the crowd to be hot and really loud, then this will cause bigger cells and more exaggerated animations, something that has never before been seen in a wrestling game. Modes planned for the game include Exhibition, Career, Booking and Challenge modes, with the Creation Suite set to include the likes of Create a Wrestler, Create a Move and Create a Show. Whilst the game is untitled at present, Steve has shared plans to announce the title in coming months, with early access estimated for late 2021 or into early 2022. Number 3. Retromania. Developed by Retrosoft Studios, Retromania Wrestling is the official sequel to the 1991 arcade game WrestleFest, with various stars from wrestling's past and present duking it out in classic 2D action. Building on the success of WrestleFest, Retromania offers up gameplay very similar to the original, and it backs that up with beautifully designed arenas from federations like the NWA and House of Hardcore, as well as a full story mode featuring WWE's John Morrison and new match types including Steel Cage and the Retro Rumble. The roster for the game consists of 16 different wrestlers, including legends such as Tommy Dreamer and the Road Warriors, as well as ECW alumni, the BWO, NWA's Nick Aldis, and former WWE stars Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins. The game was originally released on Steam earlier this year, with an Xbox and Switch release coming shortly after. However, the game is still awaiting release on PlayStation in certain territories. Number 4. New Japan Strong Spirits. Announced during Wrestle Kingdom 15 on January 4th, New Japan Pro Wrestling Strong Spirits largely went under the radar, as the premise for the game and even the trailer doesn't make it very clear what this truly is. Rather than an actual wrestling game featuring in-game models, Strong Spirits has taken a completely different approach, as it plans to use full motion video and real-world footage. Whilst it's not entirely clear how this will work, from what I was able to find on the game, it appears as though a clip will play whenever a player executes a move, with overlays then appearing for reversals and follow-up moves, which when selected will see the clip transition into another clip in relation to the action that you performed. It's unclear how well this system will work without seeing it in action, as it will require clips of every performer in the game going up against every other performer and executing all of the available moves, which is a pretty daunting task. The game is currently scheduled for worldwide release on smartphones sometime in 2021. Number 5. The Wrestling Code. One of the most promising wrestling games currently in development is the Wrestling Code game being developed by Virtual Basement. Unlike most new wrestling games, the Wrestling Code have been making waves ever since the game was announced by signing up a lot of well-known talent, including big-name stars such as Ken Shamrock, Enzo Amore, Scott Steiner, and Rob Van Dam. In total, 98 stars have been announced for the game, with Virtual Basement revealing that there are still more than 50 names to be announced, making this one of the largest independent games to date. Developed using Unreal Engine, it's clear to see that the Wrestling Code is a quality project set to rival the likes of WWE 2K, as the game uses the latest technology available to offer up some of the most realistic looking models that we've ever seen. It's unknown how far the game is into development, as gameplay is something that has yet to be shown, although we did get a preview of how the models could look in-game thanks to a recent tech preview. The purpose of this preview was to showcase the various systems that the team will be using, including face and body mocap, audio capture, and the wrestler model itself. No time frame has been given for a release date, as the developer have said that they want to take their time on the game as it's a passion project, although they plan to share more footage of the game in the coming months. Number 6. Mark Out. Formerly known as Spot Corners, Mark Out is an upcoming card game that is planned for release on both iOS and Android devices, as well as desktop via Steam. This new wrestling card game provides a fresh take on the genre, offering up cards of all types, including submissions, grapples, taunts, and various modifiers, with the goal of the game being to create the perfect mix of cards and reduce your opponent's spirit to 0. The game features over 100 unique move cards, with all the cards featured in the game able to be evolved, and certain cards also able to fuse with other cards to create formulas. Alongside standard matches, the game also features multiple match types, including Steel Cage and Hardcore, as well as its own Create a Wrestler feature and the ability to go head-to-head with other players from around the world. Mark Out plans to take wrestling games to a whole new level, with the ability to create your own promotion, build your own stages and arenas, manage your budget, and run pay-per-views. Plus, you'll also be able to fully customize your moveset, with the game teasing more moves real time than any wrestling game before. The game also features its own move creator, which allows players to piece together their own custom moves, which they can then use in-game. Since covering the game last year, the game has gone through multiple changes and is now looking better than ever thanks to a redesign from artist Rich Baker. Development has also progressed at a steady pace, with the developer recently announcing plans for Steam Early Access, which is set to begin on August 26th. Number 7. AEW Elite GM. While players eagerly await updates on the AEW console game, AEW Games are also hard at work on their second mobile title, AEW Elite GM. Catering to fans who have long requested the return of GM mode to the WWE 2K series, Elite GM offers up AEW's own take on the mode, as they give the player the power to control all of AEW, where they can fully book and manage their own AEW show. Unlike AEW's console game, Elite GM features a 2D art style set in a 3D environment, which is developed for iOS and Android using Unreal Engine. This approach is one that has been received with mixed reactions, as a lot of players have criticised the game's art style. However, AEW's project coordinator Aubrey Edwards has defended that decision, stating that 2D was their only real option, as the plan to include every single performer under an AEW contract, a feat that just wouldn't have been possible had they chosen to do it in 3D, as this would have severely increased the game's development time. Alongside the ability to contract stars and book matches, some of the features shown off include a weapon feature that allows players to assign various weapons to stars to give them an edge during matches, such as a steel chair, a baseball bat, or even Darby Allin's skateboard. Also shown off were the game's finishers, which take on their own unique approach, as rather than an animation of a standard finisher, the finishers in Elite GM are a lot more exaggerated. For example, should you take a look at Darby Allin's coffin drop, we actually see a coffin appear, which is then dropped onto an opponent. As for a release date, nothing has been set in stone, however Aubrey Edwards has confirmed that the game should release worldwide before the end of 2021. Number 8. Ultraviolence. As the name suggests, Ultraviolence isn't your typical wrestling game, as it focuses on extreme deathmatch elements rather than being a traditional grappler. Built from the ground up in Unreal Engine 4 and featuring mocap from TNT DOA winner Clint Margera, Ultraviolence brings a unique focus on weapon usage coupled with traditional wrestling, whilst leaning heavily towards enabling user-generated content and sharing. Creativity plays a central part in the game, with the developer planning to include a classic Create a Wrestler mode, as well as a whole host of additional creation modes, including the ability to create custom cages and weapons, and the option to fully customize match types. As you can see from the early footage, not only does the game include your standard weapon set featuring tables, ladders and chairs, but it also includes more brutal elements such as panes of glass, light tubes, barbed wire and even flaming ropes. Since we covered the game last year, the developer has gone on to share the following footage of the game in a pre-alpha state, with this footage revealing the presence of ghoul finishes which take the action to a whole new level of extreme. Number 9. Action Arcade Wrestling. Action Arcade Wrestling was originally released on Steam last year under the name Shikara Action Arcade Wrestling, with a console version of the game set for release in 2021. However, following allegations made against Shikara owner Mike Quackenbush and the closing of the Shikara promotion, the developers behind the game have distanced themselves from the Shikara product, choosing to drop the name and all Shikara branding. A new version of the game, simply titled Action Arcade Wrestling, is now available on Steam, with the console versions still in development. For those unfamiliar with the game, AEW is an over-the-top arcade game filled with all kinds of unique animations and special effects, which really set it apart from other games on the market. It's also very easy to pick up and play thanks to the intuitive 2-button control scheme that allows for players of all ages and skill levels to jump straight into the mayhem. The game is packed full of match types to keep you interested, with 25 playable game modes in total, ranging from 1-on-1 to 10-person elimination. One of the best features about the game is the unique creation suite, as the tools available allow players to create all kinds of unique and crazy characters, with your imagination being the only limit. You'll also be glad to know that the game includes its own version of community creations, meaning you can download creations from the community and then add them to your game. Number 10. Project Joshi. Project Joshi is a solo-developed wrestling game currently being developed using Unreal Engine 4. The game is based on women's pro wrestling and features an all-female cast, with the characters and the world entirely fictional. Whilst the majority of wrestling games play like fighting games, with all wrestlers involved in the match having health bars and the objective to deplete their opponent's health low enough to score a pin or submission, Project Joshi aims to take the wrestling game genre into a new direction. In order to achieve this, the project takes into account the planning and the reasoning that goes into a real-life wrestling match. Wrestlers are very selective of which moves they perform, why they perform them and when they perform them, which is why we generally see signature moves performed once, usually at the end of the match, with the same being said for a hot tag in a tag team match. This psychology, the production and the storytelling side of wrestling is something that Project Joshi aims to explore, with the objective of the match not necessarily being to win the match, but to work together with your opponent to produce a spectacle. The gameplay in Project Joshi is said to take great influence from turn-based RPGs and will feature a match rating system that is affected by the moves each player has performed, causing it to either rise or fall depending on the actions of each player. In addition to the match rating system, each player will also have their own player rating within a match, with players able to communicate, call their spots and decide how the match is going to finish. The player that finishes the match with the highest rating will be considered the winner, regardless of the outcome. One of the most impressive features shown off so far is the branching system that is being used for grapples. Unlike traditional wrestling games that perform a specific move when a button is pressed, Project Joshi features a branching system that sees players lift an opponent into a specific position where they can then freely walk around and perform any move that transitions from that hold. Number 11. WWE 2K22. After taking a year out to re-evaluate the series and the direction that they want to take it, this year sees 2K and Visual Concepts ready to step back into the ring with the release of WWE 2K22. The goal this year, as noted in the game's tagline, is to make sure that this game hits different, as after the disappointment of 2K20 and all the problems that that game released with, 2K are promising to right those wrongs in 2K22 and offer up something different. In order to achieve that, WWE 2K's new executive producer, Patrick Gilmore, set about finding out the modes and the features that players wanted the most, with 2K planning to use this feedback to help them decide where their focus needs to lie and which features to develop first. Based on the results of the feedback, the features that fans most wanted to see were pretty clear, with the return of GM mode being the most requested feature, followed by the return of Create a Story and the missing match types that were removed all the way back in 2K15. Whilst it's too early to say which of these new features will make it into the new game, based off the feedback and the amount of requests for these features, you would have to imagine that these are areas 2K will be pushing to include. However, as of yet, we have no official word on their progress. The only official confirmations that we have come from the game's teaser trailer, which was released over WrestleMania weekend, with a teaser confirming the presence of Rey Mysterio and Cesaro, as well as a partial Raw Thunderdome. Whether or not the teaser trailer was enough to justify the game's tagline of "It hits different" is still something that's up in the air, as despite the initial interest, a closer look at the footage has shown it to be very similar to past games, with the same animation in use, the same referee, the same announcers, and the same ringside personnel. As this footage is still very early into development, then there is still a chance that a lot of this will be updated by the time the game releases, so it's going to be interesting to follow and see how this one turns out following 2K20. So there you go, after a long wait for a new wrestling game, we now have 11 different wrestling games currently in development, so there's plenty to look forward to in what looks to be a great time to be a wrestling game fan. So let me know in the comments what you make of the games on this list and which of them you find most intriguing, and if you're new to the channel and you want to stay up to date with all of these games, then please do hit that subscribe button and turn on your notifications so that you don't miss out on future videos. Until next time though, thank you so much for watching this video, have yourself an awesome day, and I'll catch you later.